Hello, bears. You've been called here today for a very important mission. We've recently heard rumors that all the world's honey has gone missing. It's being hoarded by a nefarious villain. It's up to you, bears, to go ahead and pull off the greatest honey heist the world has ever seen. Are you ready? If not, continue watching this briefing video, and we'll get you all ready and prepared to steal your honey in your own honey heist. Oh, you ready for your briefing? Well, I'm Miss Jackie, and I'm going to be briefing you on how to play a fun little tabletop RPG called Honey Heist. So, what exactly is Honey Heist? Well, I'm guessing from the opening you might have noticed that I called you bears. Honey Heist is a fun little game where all the player characters are a bear, or in the off chance, maybe a honey badger. Your job or mission, led by a DM or a GM, is to go about and take back the honey from some nefarious organization that has stolen it all or is hoarding it all, and maybe even find some other stuff along the way. As a bear, you'll use a D6, one of these little guys that if you play Yahtzee or anything like that, you might have one at home. And you'll roll to decide if your actions go well or poorly or just so-so. So, let's get started with Honey Heist. Honey Heist is a game created by Grant Howitt where you get to play a bear. For player characters, you're going to need 3 important pieces of paper, the first 2 which is showing right now, and of course, a pen or a pencil, which we have a pencil, and a D6. So, how do you make your player character? Well, with the free resources available online, you get to roll to decide what type of bear you are, what stage in life you're at, what role you have, and from there you can even add some little perks and extras. So let's go ahead and roll a bear, shall we? So, chew. We're going to use that for descriptor, which is washed up. The next thing we roll will be what type of bear we are, which is a 6, which means we're one of the non-bear characters. We're a honey badger. And finally, we're going to roll for what our role is. A 6 again. So we're the face, i.e. the person who does a lot of talking. From there, you can put in your name, your descriptor, bear type, and role. If you have other people you're playing with, which I highly recommend you do, you can put their names and their relationship. Right now, we already have 2 other characters rolled up. So, the first character we have rolled up is Mrs. Honeyworts, who is a retired panda thief. We also have her mentee, Angus McBear, a rookie black bear who's the brains of the operation. Now, the third piece of paper you can grab, which hasn't been seen yet, is this. This adds some additional rules and things where you can also design your own honey badger or bear. For this, you can choose to roll a d6 and describe what your bear is wearing. For instance, you could give him or her a fancy hat, or a skirt, or even some yellow shirts, or some leather jackets. It's all in good fun. But this isn't really necessary to play, but it definitely makes it a little bit more fun. So, now that you know how to create a bear, we're going to show you how you play your bear. In this situation, we're going to use Mrs. Honeywort as an example. Now, what are the actions you can take as a bear? You can take either a bear action or a criminal action. Now, what's your bear action? A bear action is going to be anything that resembles what a bear would do. So running, climbing, attacking, being intimidating. And your criminal action is going to be anything that's not a bear action. So, how do you know if you're good at something? Well, all bears have a special talent. The grizzly bear is, of course, terrifying. A polar bear is a great swimmer. Mrs. Honeywort, the panda, is distractingly adorable. Aw, isn't she so cute? The black bear has the best ability to climb. A sun bear can, so good, sniff out the honey. And honey badger is particularly fierce in its ability to attack. So, let's say Mrs. Honeywort would like to run from some guard chasing her in her attempt to find the honey. Well, she's not particularly good at it, so she's going to have to roll for it. Now, you see down here, these little boxes, these dots tell you where your bear's stats are at the time. All stats start at 3. So let's go ahead and mark them. Now, which action is running? Do you guys remember? That's right, it's a bear action. So Mrs. Honeywort, who's not very good at being a bear, is not very good at running, is going to roll to see how well she can run away. Oh no. So this is a case where the die shows that it's over your 3 stat. When you're rolling, you want to be at your stat or under your stat. So if you're above your stat, it gives you a little bit of frustration. When you have frustration, you move 1 point from criminal into bear. So that means our criminal points are down to 2, and our bear points are at 4. Now, the more and more you move between bear or criminal, you'll have different stats and different consequences. If you get too much into bear, over 6, that means you go wild and you run off into the distance. If you get too much into criminal, well, this team is clearly too dumb for you, and you sail away off to your next great heist, away from these dumb bears. However, what happens if Mrs. Honeywort, after running away and realizing she failed, attempts to use her distractingly adorable feature? Well, if you're using a bear special skill or something related to your roll, you'll roll 2d6 and pick the lowest for that attempt. So Mrs. Honeywort's given up on running. Instead, she's going to sit down and look as cute as possible so that they will just stop running and chasing her, and instead just admire her and maybe leave her alone after a while. So our first roll is a 6 again. That's bad. And I would say this is more of a criminal ability because she is clearly trying to be a face. So we roll again. A 1. We'll take the 1. So that means it went without a hitch. Great. And this is where the criminal points come into value. So it went off without a hitch. So we fall into the greed. So we go back into criminal and we lose a point into bear. So we're back to 3 and 3. The game, you're going to go back and forth between your stats, but sometimes you're rolling and you're just getting closer and closer to bear. Well, how do you prevent that? When you're at a rest, you can take a second and meditate and remember what it was like becoming this criminal bear. You can remember that time that you stole something or found some great honey reserve that you never knew existed. Anything like that you can kind of role play into being is how you can also move your points. Now, on the flip side, if you're getting too much into criminal instead of bear, you can always just eat some honey, which does mean you need to have honey. So this is the basic kind of reaction of how to build and play your bear. Now, it's great and all that you can build and play a bear, but what's the story? How do you even find your story? Well, I recommend all players sign off now, and anyone interested in running a Honey Heist game as the GM or the Bear Master stays aboard so that they can see how you would run a Honey Heist game. Now, Honey Heist was created for a convention. So that means as a GM or game master for this Honey Heist game, you can make them as long or as short as you want. There's some basic things you need to know for starting it, but the Honey Heist instructions do come with instructions for the GM to help you get started. So in their setting and scenario, they'll use a D6, or you can just choose the one you like to choose location, where the honey is being held, what the additional prizes except other than the honey is, a twist, and what security is around. With those key features, you can then build your story around it. You can either go really deep and plan it out, or you could just do it on the fly, whatever you want. But you want to have some basic key ideas down before you even start GMing for your players. So in this, we're going to just follow along with the instructions that are given to us. So where is the location? Obviously, it's at a convention, and it's HoneyCon. But who's the organizer? Who's the person in charge of this convention? So we're going to roll, and we have a 3. That means the organizer who's running it is a bit of a clueless and exploitable person. So you, as a character and player, might go to the convention organizer to get them. But as the GM, you might want to play your character as slightly bumbling, maybe a little good-natured, has no idea what's being done under the surface of his con. So, where is it being held? It's being held in 5, a dangerous, and we roll a second one to find out what type of dangerous thing it is. 2, fishing village. So, maybe it is a abandoned, run-down fishing village that HoneyCon is being held in. And the bears are coming because they want the honey, and the clueless organizer, who is very kind of bumbling and exploitable, maybe this wasn't his original location. Maybe something fell through. So he was offered this dangerous fishing village that's abandoned as a great place by the actual evil in your game that the bears are going up against. So maybe there's a prize other than just all the honey that HoneyCon has. Let's see what it is. 5. An ancient beehive that Abraham Lincoln used to own that is thought to be haunted by his ghost. Feels appropriate for a dangerous area. A little bit silly, too. Now, we need our twist. So let's roll again for our twist. So, but little do the bears know. Look, a rival team of bears. So, the clueless and exploitable convention organizer has set up HoneyCon in a dangerous fishing village at behest of his mysterious benefactors. And they have brought in and hidden Abraham Lincoln's beehive, which might or might not be haunted by Abraham Lincoln's ghost. But they're not the only group of bears that have heard of it. A rival team of bears is on their way. But surely there's more than just that. Well, there is. We can roll 2 on the dice for roll the dice twice to see what type of security features this convention has. 3, laser tripwire guards grid. And 6, poisonous gas. So from there, you can add your security features. So for a GM, you can have your bears, your players, come in and explain that HoneyCon was supposed to be held in Hawaii, but some weird funding fell through, so this kind of sweet but kind of clueless and very easily manipulated convention organizer at the last minute was trying to figure out where HoneyCon was moving to and was offered a dangerous fishing village that hides the secret of Abraham Lincoln's beehive, which may or may not be haunted by Abraham's ghost. But what the bears don't know is that another rival team of bears have heard about this HoneyCon, and they want that honey. But all the bears have to get through the laser tripwire grids, and potentially poisonous gas traps. You see how simple and fun it is to just build a scenario? You can extrapolate as much as you want, or you can leave it be. Honestly, more likely than not, your players are going to kind of drive a little bit, and that's perfectly okay. So I hope this helps new players and GMs learn how to play Honey Heist. So agents, are you prepared? Do you have your D6 in hand? Do you have your information page on how to play the game and your stats at the ready? You do? Well, I charge you with getting back our honey. And maybe even stealing from some silly humans. Go out and roll some dice. Get our honey back. And enjoy Honey Heist.